Welcome to this explainer on the absolute ultimate trailblazers of human history, Homo erectus. We're going to embark on an incredible 2 million-year journey today to understand the origins, the anatomy, and that relentless migration of the first ancient humans to really spread across the globe. When we look back at our first globe-trotting ancestors, it's so tempting to view them through this highly romantic lens. We picture them as these courageous explorers, right? Brave pioneers, boldly going where no one had gone before. But actually, scratch that. The reality is, they definitely weren't deliberately striking out to discover new continents. And that raises a pretty fascinating question about their actual motivations. I mean, did they have a map? Or were they literally just hungry? As you'll see throughout this explainer, it was really the intense environmental pressures of shifting climates, shrinking habitats, and just the desperate pursuit of new food sources that drove them forward. But to truly understand this epic journey, we first have to ask, who exactly stepped out of the African continent nearly 2 million years ago? What did they look like, and how were they so different from the more ape-like hominins that came before them? Let's map out our agenda for today. First, we'll cover built for the road. Second, a global migration. Third, the Dremonisi curveball. And fourth, tools, meat, and myth-busting. All right, section 1, built for the road. Let's get right into it. So around 2 million years ago, cyclic glaciation and just severe climate instability totally rocked the planet. It was chaos. And a crucial theory suggests that these rapid climate fluctuations acted almost like an evolutionary pressure cooker. It spurred an adaptive shift in early humans toward greater intelligence, a higher quality diet, and most importantly, mobility. They literally evolved to handle environmental chaos. This brings us to a really remarkable discovery, the Nariokotomi boy. Found in East Africa, he's named that because this incredibly complete Homo erectus skeleton belonged to a youth who died at just 8 years old. It gives us an unprecedented look at their true size and shape. And wow, this skeleton revealed a creature vastly different from earlier hominins. For starters, they sported a much larger brain, averaging around 900 cubic centimeters, completely encased in thick, robust skull bones with these prominent brow ridges. But postcranially, they had a tall, linear body. And that specific body shape was absolutely brilliant for dissipating heat through sweating, which allowed them to be highly active in those hot, tropical environments. Moving right along to section 2, a global migration. The sheer speed of their expansion is just staggering. Okay, they appear in Africa around 1.8 to 1.9 million years ago. But by 1.81 million years ago, they are already up in the Republic of Georgia. And by 1.6 million years ago, they've made it all the way to Java in Indonesia. They did this by crossing these vast land bridges that were newly exposed by low sea levels during the ice ages. Now, because they spread so far and wide, they naturally evolved regional differences. And this sparked the famous lumpers versus splitters debate in paleoanthropology. Basically, some scientists argue that the early, slightly more gracile African fossils are a distinct species altogether, called Homo ergaster, while others, the lumpers, group them all together as regional variants of just one highly adaptable species, Homo erectus. When we organize these fossils geographically, those regional quirks become super clear. African specimens tend to have thinner cranial walls, but over in Asia, the specimens possess thicker bones and these pronounced sagittal keels running right along the top of their skulls. These differences likely popped up because rising and falling sea levels repeatedly isolated populations on islands and distinct landmasses for tens of thousands of years at a time. Okay, section 3, the Dremonisi curveball. Now, what's really wild about this next discovery is how it completely disrupted that tidy migration narrative we just laid out. Unearthed right under a medieval village in Dremonisi, Georgia, these fossils totally sent shockwaves through the scientific community. Why? Well, they showed that the very first humans to leave Africa didn't actually have the tall stature or those large 900 cubic centimeter brains we thought were absolutely required for such a massive journey. No, their brains were as small as 600 cubic centimeters. But honestly, the physical traits aren't even the most fascinating part of the site. In a tremendous twist, one older Demetsi adult skull was found with exactly one single tooth remaining in his jaw. Think about that for a second. His jawbones showed advanced bone loss, meaning he survived for years without being able to chew his food efficiently. That single tooth provides profound evidence that these early hominins must have cared for the vulnerable members of their group. They were supporting each other. This a real game changer that entirely reshapes our understanding of their social behavior.
And finally, Section 4, Tools, Meat, and Myth Busting.
So, the crucial point here is, how did they survive and thrive in all these harsh, unfamiliar environments across the globe? It really comes down to their cultural adaptations. Their survival tech evolved significantly over time. They started with simple, quickly made Oldowan flake tools, but around 1.6 million years ago, they developed the Acheulean tradition. This was defined by standardized two-sided hand axes. And what's amazing is they carried these raw materials and tools over 10 kilometers. It's much like you'd carry a backpack with your cell phone today. It shows incredible foresight and planning. And this brilliantly illustrates the debate over how they actually got their food. Rather than being the noble, big game hunters of popular imagination, they likely relied heavily on scavenging. We actually find their stone tool cut marks right on top of carnivore tooth marks on ancient bones. So that means they were either aggressively chasing predators away from fresh kills or passively sneaking in to extract rich bone marrow with their heavy stone tools. Speaking of popular imagination, let's bust a major myth right here. Audiences often picture Peking man sitting comfortably around a blazing cave fire in Jiaoquedenyan, China. But recent chemical analyses totally debunked this. They revealed that the supposed ash was just natural organic sediment, and the fractured bones in the cave, those were actually the leftovers from the meals of extinct giant hyenas. Not exactly a cozy camp. But look, despite busting the myth of the cozy hearth, the core truth remains. The combined innovations of making sophisticated stone tools and acquiring calorie-dense meat and marrow undeniably fueled their brain growth. This dynamic combination provided the adaptability that literally paved the way for modern humanity. As we reflect on this epic 2 million-year journey of our ancestors, adapting to ice ages and migrating across entirely new continents, it leaves us with one provocative final thought. If changing climates pushed Homo erectus out of Africa, where will the next great climate shift push us? Thank you so much for exploring the incredible story of Homo erectus with me today. Keep asking questions and keep learning.